My daughter died at 18 months in 1989. And then my wife of 43 died on January 1st in 1999. The words that are coming out of my mouth are true. That is the experience that I lived through. But the words minimize the experience. And with the video, you get to see the daughter that lived with me for 18 months, and you get to see the wife, the woman that I was married to for almost 14 years. And I want to take about 2 minutes and through pictures share with you the life that I lived with my 2 boys, Rory and Sean, from '99 to 2004. And this was on my son Rory's 13th birthday. It was July 24th of 2004. And on August 26th of 2004, he had gone to 7th grade for 2 days. He had a seizure that night. And I called 911. And I ended up in the emergency room at Rockford Memorial Hospital. It was the 3rd time in my life I had called 911. The 3rd time I had taken an ambulance to the emergency room. The doctors found a hot spot on his left temporal lobe. Maybe it was herpes encephalitis. Maybe it was Hashimoto's encephalitis. You know, Mr. Zuba, we're really not sure what it is. He was misdiagnosed, and he was misdiagnosed again. And as I'm sure many of you know, there were tests, and there were tests, and there were more tests, and there were hospital visits, and there were more hospital visits, and there were hospital visits in Rockford, and there were hospital visits in Chicago. And finally, 1 week to the day after Election Day 4 years ago, there was a biopsy at Children's Memorial. And the biopsy turned into major brain surgery. And my 13-year-old son's entire left temporal lobe was removed. And I couldn't say the words. And I don't think I did. I had worked for the Cancer Society for 6 years. But I don't really think the entire time that he was alive I ever said, glioblastoma stage 4. The recommendation was chemo and radiation. I asked why. They said, we'll buy a couple more months. I said, it sounds barbaric to me. And they said, there's no cure. I'm sorry, there's no cure. And I believed them. If they told me there was no cure, I believed that they would not be able to cure him. This was right after the surgery. And you know, he looked good. And he was smiling. And I really didn't understand what was going on, because there was a child who had had major brain surgery. The entire left temporal lobe had been removed. They said he probably wouldn't walk. They said he probably wouldn't talk. He walked. He talked. He laughed. He looked good. And they said we would be at the Rehab Institute for about 6 weeks. And a week after we were there, they said, Mr. Zuba, you can go home. He surpassed our expectations with flying colors. You can go home. So we did. And I decided to seek alternative treatments. I was looking for hope. And I was looking for folks who said, maybe we can help him. And we flew to Seattle. And we flew to Houston. And I had lived in California, so I wasn't afraid of acupuncture. So we tried acupuncture. And we tried Chinese herbs. And everyone said, he must go on an organic diet. And we did. And there was no salt. And there was no sugar. And there was high potassium. And we tried the oxygen treatments. And we tried supplements. And we tried massage. And we celebrated Christmas. I was pretty certain it would be my last with him. But we celebrated Christmas. And I got to take him to Anderson Gardens. It was a place he loved. And I thought it would be so healing for him. It was certainly healing for me. And in Houston, we opted for a very controversial, very expensive treatment. And we were there for 2 weeks. And we left his little brother, Sean. And we made him a sign. Sean, we love you. We miss you. And there were moments of fun. And we came home, and I tried cranial sacral therapy. And people offered to do Reiki on him. And we anointed him with holy oils. People prayed of all faiths. People came and chanted around him. We had the crystal bowls. We had water from Medjugorje. We had ashes from India. We had electromagnetic healing. I created an international sacred circle. Many of you in this room were part of that. And I begged you to do whatever you could possibly do to keep my son alive. I was not concerned about him, and he was not concerned. I would say, are you afraid of dying? No, Daddy. Are you afraid? No, Daddy. I was trying to keep him alive for me, because I knew I would survive physically. I had done it twice before. I didn't want to live without him. So I did everything I could possibly do to keep this child alive. And on February 22nd, 2005, Rory Brennan Zuba died anyway. And because it was my 3rd time, I brought his dead body into my house for 3 days. And people came into my home and sat with me and talked with me, and it was beautiful. It was the right thing for me to do. And I will tell you that my son Rory Brennan Zuba, he died at the perfect time. And he died in the perfect way. And that is my truth.